Hi, thank you for your question. For anyone who's new, my name's MJ. I'm HSV2 positive, which means I have genital herpes. Yes, I just announced that publicly on social media. I do videos about it from time to time to raise awareness because that lowers stigma and that lowers infection rates. So I have never had a blood test that came back inconclusive, but I have had swab tests come back inconclusive. I am a huge advocate for knowing your status when it comes to everything. All STI testing I think is a good idea. But I do think it's important to talk about, things like my situation where I tested inconclusive twice during active outbreaks. With my symptoms, it was very obvious what was happening. It was very obvious that I was having an outbreak. The first time it happened, it was so painful. I went to urgent care. And the reason I think it's important to make sure people are aware of, this, that like testing like that can come back inconclusive and you can still have HSV is because obviously swab tests, like, you get them when you have an active outbreak. But a lot of people have symptoms that are much milder than mine were. So imagine if they were just on the fence, like, oh, maybe this is, genital herpes, then they go get a swab test and it comes back inconclusive. A lot of people would just take that at face value. I'll never forget the second time I went to a physician, for an outbreak. I mean, I was already identifying myself as having HSV because it was pretty obvious. But I needed to get antivirals, and so I went there during an active outbreak. I got swabbed again, and I remember I said to the doctor, I was like, "Well, my last test came back inconclusive, so like, what if this one comes back inconclusive too? Like, what if it's something else?" And she's like, "What else could that be?" But that's how obvious my symptoms were. Like, it was very clearly genital herpes outbreak. Like, that's what it was. And the testing for it to like, continuously say inconclusive, I mean, to me that's really alarming. I honestly haven't had a blood test after that because it's just so obvious that it's obviously, I mean, I obviously have herpes. I'm diagnosed with it. It's on all my charts because I mean, it is what it is. I totally get why people kind of doubt the accuracy of blood tests for HSV because if it's too soon, it's not going to show up, and that's definitely risky. But also, the swab test not always accurate. So I would just urge anybody if they feel like they're having symptoms and that it is an outbreak and they go to the doctors and have an inconclusive swab test, I would not immediately just think you're in the clear because I think that could definitely lead to potential transmission to others and that would just suck.